for my entire life, I viewed self-love, I think, as self-indulgent, in the sense that I felt it would be narcissistic and selfish and unproductive to feel or embrace or cultivate self-love in any way. And that, in fact, the way to drive myself was to constantly pick apart everything I was or did in very brutal fashion in terms of internal monologue. And I think that is part of what drove me so close to the edge in college, is that incessant, abusive inner voice. And I got a lot done. I did a lot of things. And at the end of the day, who the fuck cares? Really, right? Like, in 200 years, we're all dust. No one's going to remember us. It doesn't matter, right? So great. I got a better grade on my junior term paper. Who the fuck cares, right? At the end of the day, that voice almost drove me to extinguish myself. So what I've also found is that, looking back at the last 10 years, like, how you treat yourself affects it in some way influences how you treat other people. So if you are violent and angry towards yourself, there will be an element of violence and anger towards other people, whether it comes out really obviously or it comes out in the form of like resentment and complaining and passive aggressiveness. It's going to manifest. So spending time with Jack Kornfield has had a huge impact on me. This was a few years ago when I first met Jack. He's a very famous meditation teacher, wonderful human being, walks the walk. There are a lot of posers in the mindfulness meditation world, a lot of people who really are of the do what I say, not what I do school. If you look under the hood, Jack is so adept and has such an incredible toolkit also as a clinical psychologist for helping veterans, adolescents who are self-harming and cutting. He's very skilled. And we had a conversation at one point, and he said something that stuck with me, and I'm going to paraphrase it because the exact words are important, but the gist is, and that is, if your compassion doesn't extend to yourself, it's incomplete. And that seems so obvious, right? But I do think that a lot of people who pride themselves on being achievers spend the vast majority of their time whipping themselves.
And what do you think? I mean, I think everyone has that internal dialogue, and some days it can be more intense than others in terms of being critical. Or for me, it's not so much critical on myself as it is just ruminating on certain thoughts and like over and over again. I've had a lot of that. How did you break out of that? Like, what was? And is it something that you still struggle with today? Like, if someone's listening to this and they're like, oh my God, that describes me to the T. Like, I have all these, I'm constantly so harsh on myself. What are the steps that someone would take?
Well, some are easier to recommend than others. I've done a lot of really wild stuff, and some very, very aggressive stuff. And it's not to say that all tools will work for all people, but I do think that there are certain books that have had a large impact on me that have helped other people. And in fact, now that I think about it, I believe that one of them, Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, was recommended to me by Daria, which surprised the hell out of me because Daria is very sharp, scientifically minded, very skeptical. And at least back in the day, my experience with Daria was that anything remotely woo-woo or hand-wavy, she was just like, psh, talk to the hand, not interested, right? So when she recommended this book, very generic title, and the subtitle I can't remember at the moment, but Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, and I thought, oh my God, like, has Daria had a frontal lobotomy? Like, what happened? I don't know how this book would make it through her filter. And it was incredibly helpful. So, radical acceptance, self-acceptance, making peace with parts of us, aspects of ourselves, emotions we have grown to believe are negative or unwanted, reconciling, reintegrating yourself in a way is a worthy goal. And I think I've largely succeeded. I still have my moments where I beat myself up, but it is less than 5% of what it was 5 or 6 years ago.